All right, hello everyone. This is a good video today, and you gotta leave comments because sometimes they kind of get me going. You know, a lot of people try to troll and they can't. They just say stuff. They try to be when you try to be too mean, you never get me. But on the last video, one thing I said about the Commanders' wide receiver core being possibly better than the Eagles kind of poked the Eagles fan the wrong way, and he responded this way, and it was lovely. And this is how you're the man. He a little bit of narcissism that gets me every time. So he got me in. He reeled me in with, "You're the man. Let's be real. CeeDee is a slot receiver who rarely goes again." I mean, he goes in after he says, "You're the man," but CeeDee is a slot receiver who rarely goes against ones or two corners. In game where y'all beat us, Avonte Maddox, our slot, got hurt, and he toast our backup slot corner, Josiah Scott. Lamb is the third best receiver in that division at best. Both AJ and Devonta are over him, and if we're talking true wide receiver skills. And I think 3 is between CeeDee and McLaurin. Well, that got me going a little bit. So I was sitting over there, back there, just thinking about, man, who are the top 10 wide receivers in our division? And then once I'm going to go through them in this video, the 10 that I think, and I'm going to back myself up with some numbers at PFF because, you know, I don't want to hear your noise. I know PFF isn't the greatest source in the world, but they're not going to have Devontae Adams with a 62 score. So, I mean, take that. But this is going to be about the wide receivers, rating them from top 1 to 10. And then once we do that, we'll have an eye on the wide receiver core. So once we add the tight end to the mix, then we'll say who has the best receiving units, top to bottom, in the NFC East. Let's go. All right. All right. Now, first, first, the number 1 in the division is easily CeeDee Lamb. Now listen, watch the Eagles fans, they click it off. I'm just kidding. Y'all know I'm not that much of a homer. Sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm not. But it's not CeeDee Lamb, it's A.J. Brown, and he had the highest PFF score of the group at 87.7. Of course, I want to give it to CeeDee Lamb, but the drops, man, I mean, clean up the drops, crispy up that route running, and then we can start working you over AJ. But let's start with him, man. When he came to the Eagles last season, my chest collapsed. I was because he was like it was a similar but lesser feeling when they got T.O. because he's the same kind of offensive force that when you get him the ball, he's not as good as T.O., but when he gets the ball, he's a problem. And then I've watched so many Titans games when he just got dirty. He did what he was supposed to do. He wasn't the focus of the offense. He blocked. He did all the kind of stuff. And then he would make those big catches at big times of the game and just shred tacklers like he was a mini King Henry. So when he came to Philadelphia, I was like, no. And I'm telling you, that could be the difference in our two teams, ladies and gentlemen. We lost a pretty good receiver, and our season suffered badly because we lost that receiver. And they gained a very good receiver, and they went to the Super Bowl. So, hey, Cowboys, I hope you're listening because we're better than last year, but we're not that much better than last year. Number two is CeeDee Lamb. And I know what you said about Devonta. Nice. What do they call it? Hype up spiel, the Heisman spiel. You did a little Heisman spiel for Devonta. But CeeDee is second on the list with PFF. He has an 86.2 score. And with him, my only problem is the drops. You know, he runs routes the way he runs routes. I can't get on him like that. I'm kind of mad at Amari gone because Amari was teaching him so much about route running, but he does his own thing. So and by far he's the most versatile, and he has the prettiest catches of all of them in the league with high pointing the ball by far. So CeeDee is a solid 2 by my estimation and his numbers. So I'm sorry. Number 3 and 4 is when it starts to get murky a little bit. Terry McLaurin had a PFF score of 79.9, and Devonta Smith was a little bit better than him with 80.4, just half a point separation. So they were quite even there. However, I have to put Terry at 3 because he got to that spot with Carson Wentz, with no quarterbacks really. So it's more impressive for him to put that reel up the things that he did last year or whatever with those quarterbacks that were throwing to him, rather than you having a guy that was up for MVP that was having a good year last year or whatnot. But you look at Devonta's numbers; they were huge. It's just they're just so close. It's ridiculous. I will go to Terry as 4 and Devonta as 5. But I tell you what, I'll make the Eagles fans feel good right here. All 4 of those guys are legit number 1s. Okay, they could be legit. Devonta may need to work a little bit. That's why he's number 4. He just hadn't got the opportunity yet because he's playing offside of another monster or whatever. So he hadn't had the whole thing on his shoulders to prove that he can do it all, like McLaurin is basically in Washington and CeeDee is doing in Dallas. So you got those 4. Those 4 are the only number 1s, right? Then you have the best of the rest. Number 5, I have Jahan Dotson. Dude, he's nasty, man. He had the 7th best PFF, so he came up a couple of notches at 70.5. But Jahan Dotson, man, I think that score is low. The 70.5 score is low because of quarterbacks in Washington. But he's exciting, and believe it or not, that dude's a 50-50 guy too. He'll go up with somebody and come down with the ball like nobody problem. So he's good. He's good, and he has loads of potential, and that's kind of why I got him above the next guy, who is Isaiah Hodgins. Hi, Giants fans. I knew you were going to be here sooner or later. But Isaiah Hodgins had a 76.9 score on PFF, which is the 5th best in the division. Hodgins is good, but he's not a number 1. That's why the Giants took a potential number 1 in the draft this year. So that guy that they took in this draft is probably going to be their best receiver this year. So they're not on this list just yet because he doesn't have a resume just yet. So Hodgins is 6. Next, I'm having trouble with a simple name. Next, I'm going to put our boy Brandin Cooks. He had the 6th best score. 6th best score at 72.3. And, this is kind of where he falls for me. He drops down 1 notch, and that's... Okay, the Cowboy fans get mad at me now. I feel like Brandin Cooks is one of those guys whose name is being elevated because he's with the Cowboys now. It always happens. There's somebody that comes to the Cowboys and he has been struggling for the last few years. And I'm not saying Brandin Cooks has been, or he's been like a plateau player or an average player or whatever. But then when he comes to Dallas, his expectations just go, whew. It has something to do with that thing. Am I pointing right? Yeah, that thing. But the expectations are there. So I see that happening with Brandin Cooks. I'm not going to follow that. However, does he make us substantially better? Yes. Does he fill a perfect need of having to have somebody to stretch the field? Yes. Is he a very good wide receiver? Yes. So he does check a lot of boxes. It does, just looking at this, make me really want somebody else to come to our receiver core, because I think just keep going. All right, number 8, right after Cooks, I have Curtis Samuel, and he seems like he has the 8th best at a 70.5, and Curtis Samuel is pretty much the same person as Brandin Cooks, except not as good. He's a little bit faster, but Cooks is a much better receiver and things of that sort. So Curtis Samuel 8. At 9, here's Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup is lucky to be on this list, y'all. Michael Gallup had the 11th best PFF score of 62.6. And the only reason I have him on this list because we know Michael Gallup is much better than that. We know he got, 1,000-yard seasons, but that's from a very, very aggressive offensive coordinator with Kellen Moore. That's different from what was going on in these other places. But he's better than he showed last year. His drops were, his route running was, so I mean, he has to be better, and I believe that he can be better, but I don't feel like we should depend on him another year. I mean, should we depend on him another year? I understand, having him in the mix or whatever. But, whatever. There's, you got Devontae Adams that said a lot of nasty things about his own team. You got Hopkins in Arizona. You got some names out there. You got even some younger guys in Denver. You got some names out there that can come and that could be just as good. They can be higher than Brandin Cooks was on this PFF list or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or younger, more potential, have more potential or something like that we can throw into this group. Now, do like a lot of our bottom half of the roster. We will give them a chance, and they will have a chance to make a move. But right now, and just as a note, Noah Brown had a 59.5 last year. So our receiving core was really bad last year. It was really bad last year. All right, and last on 10, we're going to let Darius Slayton have that slot, not Quez. Quez had a 52.7. Quez Watkins is like Cooks and Samuel, but much worse. He's just speed. But nah, yeah. Darius Slayton is right there with the 10th best for now. And of course, his teammate, his new teammate from Tennessee is probably going to take that spot away from him. All right. Now, since we got the top 10 right there, how are we going to rank their units? First, well, even though the Giants have acquired a monster tight end in Darren Waller, which is going to be a problem for all of us. Even though they got that guy, they're clearly at the bottom spot here. It's not that they don't have talent. Of course, they have talent. They got Sterling Shepard. They got Wan'Dale Robinson. They got, like I said, Jalen Hyatt. So they should, and Jalen Hyatt, like I said, should be in this top 10 rather quickly. So they're not devoid of talent. They're just at the bottom of the list. Now, third is the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, we're not far off from, I'm not, look, guys, I try to keep it as real as possible. I'm not going to say we're great at a position when we're not. We're better than last year, but last year we were horrible. So we're better than that. Does that make me like, Super Bowl? No, it doesn't. We need one more horse. I'm telling you, we need one more wide receiver to put with Cooks and put with CeeDee and put with Gallup if Gallup's going to be that guy. Gallup might get beat out by one of these younger guys, man. You know what I'm saying? Bring another dude on. Sorry, I had to. All right, number 2. We have the Washington Commanders. There's tons of potential there from top to bottom. They got rookies on top of rookies on top of rookies. And it all depends on quarterback. I do like Sam Howell. I'm a fan of Sam Howell. I used to play with him in Madden a lot. But, I'm not sure how he's going to be in the pass game. And I hope he's good enough, though. I hope he's Tyler Heineke good, because Tyler Heineke good will keep Caleb Williams away from that wide receiver core in Washington. So that's ultimately what I want, because that's what I have my eye on. And number 1, easy call, is the Philadelphia Eagles. Boo! It's the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's having the best tight end in the division, the one they stole from us. I remember that draft. I'm not going to forget that. I know what you did. All right. But when they stole from us, and it's because of him, not Quez Watkins, because of Dallas Goedert. But saying that, there is a serious drop-off in talent after those 3 in Philly. after that tight end and those two starters. So an injury could hurt them really bad. Could hurt us really bad as well. But on the flip side, the Commanders are loaded, like I said, with untapped young talent. They're figuring out how good they are right now. So one more quality receiver, if they found one more gem in the group that they have right now, then hey, it closes the gap. Well, there it is. I felt like it was going to be a good video, but it ended up with me not feeling as good about my receiving core as I did going into this video. So, didn't work out the way I wanted. Well, see you next week. Peace out.